Looks like we're live. Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Azulin session. Let's make a little bit of an announcement and officially start the stream. So let me pull out my Discord server. Okay, so let's do a red circle live on Twitch. And what are we doing today on Twitch at .television website? Today we are implementing a C compiler in PHP. How about that? So I'm gonna give the link to twitch.tv/studying, the place where we do all of that. I'm gonna ping everyone who's interested in being pinged. And there we go, the stream has officially started. So, since today is April Fool's, I'm obligated to do something quirky and weird. So, and because of that, I decided to just do something quirky and weird. And what could be more quirky and weird than implementing literally a C compiler in PHP? So, that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing today. Hello everyone. Welcome. So thank you so much, Fabio HBF, for tier 1 subscription. Thank you. With the message "Coding cool indeed," because what we're doing today is in fact very cool. So let's go. I'm gonna start TeamUX and let's go to Coding and let's create a folder. Let's call it c.php. I think it's a good name for this entire thing, for the project, right? So what we're gonna be doing, right? So I want to implement like literally a PHP script that accepts a C code and compiles it down to assembly, right? So that's what we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna write a PHP script that processes C code and generates assembly out of the C code. Of course, we're not gonna implement like a fully standard compliant C. What I plan for today is to just go ahead, and since today is April Fool's, I suppose to do something weird and quirky. So let's use Vim for the entirety of the stream, right? So yeah, there we go. I can't zoom in. I can't zoom in on this goddamn editor. Maybe I can just like make the font a little bit bigger. I forgot how to do that. So there's a USF 20, maybe how about 22? I think that will be a little bit weird. Better. Okay, so essentially my idea is that we're gonna implement like a small subset of C, right, in PHP. So enough to compile down a hello world, right? So let's actually go ahead and just create such hello world. I'm gonna create hello C. So what we want to support is, I suppose, including some standard headers. So I think for now I'm gonna just basically ignore all of the preprocessor directives and stuff like that. So this one is probably not gonna have any effect. So we want to be able to define like simple functions that returns integers, right? So we want to be able to also have return a number from such functions, right? So, and then we probably want to support printf to some extent, to just print hello world. Maybe it's not going to be a full support of printf, but I have an idea of making printf an intrinsic for now, meaning that the compiler will see this function call, and it's not going to call an actual function, it's going to replace it with like maybe something like a syscall to write or something like that. So essentially, I want to implement enough of the C compiler in PHP to compile this program to a native executable. Right, that's basically the idea for today's stream, and I think this is kind of doable in 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. We'll see. It just depends on the mood and stuff like that, on how it goes. I think that's a pretty good challenge. I think, right? Sounds like fun. I don't know. So let's go ahead and freaking do that. I already created a c.php file. I already started this entire thing with open triangle bracket question mark PHP. You're supposed to actually end it with a question mark closing this entire thing, but as far as I know, professional PHP developers just simply don't do that. They never close this entire tag, and this is totally fine in PHP. So let's actually write hello world. I don't remember anything from PHP, to be fair. I haven't programmed seriously in this language ever. And I programmed unseriously in this language some time ago, and like I don't remember what was in this language, but I remember that it had like a hello function that just prints stuff to the standard output. So let's actually say hello world, right? So let's do hello world, and I suppose what you're supposed to do is just this. So unexpected on the file, expecting comma or semicolon. So is it supposed to be ended with semicolon? Yeah, okay, so that's true. It doesn't have a new line in here, so that means we also have to put some sort of a new line in here. And there we go, we wrote a hello world in PHP. I think this is already a great start. This is a very, very good start. So we've got some subs and beats and stuff like that, so let's actually acknowledge them. Zvony Codes, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription with the message okay, so thank you Lapis on the Moon for Twitch Prime subscription, thank you. Enumerate with 100 bits, thank you so much for 100 bits with the message Tsodin Weird, happy Tomfoolery Day to you too. Thank you so much. Peter Na, I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly. Thank you so much for tier 1 subscription with the message giving money to Bezos because I still forgot to cancel it. Yeah, that's basically how it works. That's basically how subscription works. Essentially, you just subscribe once and you forget about it, and you keep becoming poorer and poorer and poorer. John X Slayer, thank you so much for Twitch Prime with the message PHP, the one true programming language. It is true. That's the only true programming language. The other languages are just like derivatives of PHP, basically, right? So it all started with PHP. Sina Basil, thank you so much for 5 community gifted subs. Thank you. All right, so that's pretty cool. We already know how to write a hello world. So I'm not even sure if this is a correct C program that we wrote in here, right? So let's actually try to compile it with an actual C compiler just to make sure that, you know, it is an actual C. It is an actual C program. Would you look at that? Okay, let's remove that. Okay, so I suppose the first thing we want to be able to do, we want to be able to read a goddamn file. How can we read a goddamn file in this goddamn language? I have no idea. So let me actually Google that PHP read file. Who would have thought? Literally PHP read file. How about that? Cool. Outputs file. This is not really what I wanted. So let's actually give it a try. So what if I do read the file and I'm gonna say, okay, hello.c. Cool. And then if I run this entire thing, PHP c.php, and there is a syntax error because again I forgot a semicolon. Imagine requiring semicolons in 2023 and it just prints it. It acts like a cat. We implemented cat, right? So we implemented hello world and the next second we instantly implemented cat. That's how efficient we are. But this is not what I want. I didn't want a cat. I wanted a dog. No, I mean. Alright, so, and my keyboard died, just a second. Oh, okay, so it started to work again, so everything's fine. Okay, so is there any other way to read a file? Is there any other way to read a file? I wonder. File get contents, this is actually pretty cool. I think that's what we want. Read the entire file into a string. So, and it returns a string or false. This is actually perfect. So let's do file get contents, right? And it even highlights that. So, and here we're gonna have a source. So am I supposed to like do something like source, like so, right? And let me see. Is there any examples on how to use this thing? Yeah, this is how we do that, and then you do echo. So you don't even have to provide the parentheses apparently around the arguments of echo, which is actually kind of cool. So it also accepts some parameters. So we set true to here. So use include path. Oh, it's something PHP specific, I suppose. There's also context, there's offset, length. We don't really care about any of these things, so I think we're good to go. So let me actually put some stuff around this entire thing. Right, and just do echo. Of course, you have to put semicolons in here. So this one is an echo, and I just want to print the source code surrounded by the lines, those separating lines, and let's see how it's gonna go. Yeah, it seems to be working, but of course I have to provide the new lines in here, of course. So there we go. So that means this is a proof that we're capable of reading the source code and actually saving that source code into a variable. Ben Shomin, I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly. Thank you so much for Twitch Prime. Thank you. Really appreciate giving money to Jeffrey Bezos. So as you can see, we're already capable of reading the source code from a file. So let's actually create like something like file name and put it in here, just in case we want to report errors in the future. Right. So that's probably something that we want to do. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something like this. Okay, so I suppose the next thing we need to do, we need to create Alexa, right? So because the first step in the compilation of any goddamn language is Alexa, right? So it is Alexa. So let's remove all of that stuff. And how I'm going to implement Alexa, I suppose, I know that PHP had classes. Can we create like a class? Okay, so it actually highlights this kind of shit. Right, so we can create a class Alexa, but I want to have a little bit more information on that. So we're going to be going into a little bit of a OOP classes, how to use classes. So people are subscribing like crazy, holy fucking shit. Starry Lev, I hope I pronounced your nickname correctly. Thank you so much for Twitch Prime. Thank you. All right, so PHP courses and training online with Coursera. Enroll for free now. Okay, so how about that? So maybe this course is actually useful. I'm not really sure if I care, bro. PHP OOP W3 schools. This is precisely what we need. Okay, so this is how you define a class. You can define a fruit, and code goes here. Got it. So you can define properties, which makes sense, and you can define methods. Good enough. So essentially for the Alexa, I want to have a method, something like next token. Right, and I would expect this thing to return either next token or maybe something like false, similar to file get content, right? So since it's a dynamic language, it can return different kind of things. It can return a string, or if it cannot do something, it can return false. So through that, we can indicate some sort of end of a stream of tokens or some sort of an error, or, you know, the usual stuff. So let me actually find the file get content. I closed that specific page for some reason. I should have not closed it. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So as you can see in here, they are saying that this function, a file get content, can return either string or false. And I suppose it returns false in case if we cannot basically read that file. I wonder, like, let me actually try to do that. So for instance, if I do c.php, right, if I just do c.php, it says unexpected source. That's very interesting. So unexpected source. Why did it say unexpected source? T variable. So is that because of yes, probably because of this. But if the file does not exist, right? If the file does not exist, it says no such file or directory. Okay, so it still logs something, and I suppose at the same time just returns false. Which makes sense, right? So maybe in case of if like not source, right? If not source, we can do something like exit with a non-zero exit code or whatnot. What's funny is that maybe it's not even required, right? So can I just do something? Can I do something after reading the file has failed? Can I do something after reading the file has failed? This is actually a very good question. No, I cannot. It just exits. Well, I mean, I keep forgetting about this thing. I can. Okay, so it just logs an error, but continues the execution. And this is why it may return false. Right, so, and this is where we can just do exit with 69 or something like that. Right, and as you can see, we can stop this entire execution. Right, so I think it's kind of important because if we couldn't read the file, there's no point in trying to tokenize that or do anything with it. So we should check if we didn't get anything, and we didn't get anything, just return, like exit with like 69. And did it actually exit with 69? Yes, it did. As you can see, in here, it says 69. Isn't that cool? I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty poggers, my dudes. So let me see. So we are supposed to have some properties, right? So we can actually have a public property called the content, right? Or maybe the source. Right. But the question is, how do we construct such lexa? Do we have any sort of like constructors, right? Oh yeah, the chat says there is this like very common concept, right? So file get content or die. Yeah, I remember that. Thank you for reminding me. So PHP die. Very funny. Okay. So it is poor design to rely on dying for error handling in a website because it results in ugly experience for site. But we're not developing a fucking website. Who do you think we are? Some sort of web developers? Yeah. We are developing a C compiler. We are programming language developers. We are computer scientists, not just web developers. So that's why it is okay to rely on die. I believe so. So I wonder, like, does that actually... Well, yeah, it's supposed to return, right? So it's supposed to return this kind of thing. Okay. But I mean, this entire thing already logs everything. Okay, so we're not going to use die. We're not going to use die. So what I'm interested in, how do we construct a class? Right, we define some properties, but where is the constructor? Right, where is the constructor? Okay, so you can do new fruit, and you set through a setters and getters in 2023. Setters and getters, disgusting. Do you have any construct? So there is a this keyword, okay. This keyword. Instance of. I don't care about any of this stuff. Okay, so apparently I have to Google that explicitly. PHP class constructor. How do you construct a goddamn class? Tell me. Okay, so there are constructors and destructors. Cool. Underscore constructor. All right. So there's also like this kind of like a imaginary type system, right? So yeah, imaginary in the sense that it's only for documentation purposes and it doesn't appear to be actually checked at all. Like it's an optional type system. Okay, so you can have a constructor, and I suppose it can have parameters, and you set the parameters through this and stuff like that. Okay, so let's actually do the following thing. We're gonna accept source, all right, and then I'm gonna say this source equal source. There's so much syntactic noise. Oh, you don't really have to put the percent in here. And look at that. Look at that. Vim decided to use ligatures. Can your Emacs do that? Can your Emacs support goddamn ligatures? It cannot do a fucking shit. You have to, I think you have to actually compile like Emacs with a special patch to have a support for ligatures. At least it was like that some time ago. Maybe they already fixed that. But I remember back when I checked, Emacs was like literally incapable of doing that. Like it's just like it couldn't do ligatures at all. So yeah. Vim can do them quite easily. All right, so this is not a constructor. What the fuck am I doing? So I'm supposed to do, yeah, it has to be public function. My god, public function constructor. What kind of language is this? Is that a Java? Right. So this is a source. Let me move this entire thing in here. Can I do something like die? To do not implemented, right? So this is how we're going to be using die. So this is how we construct, and the idea is basically that I'm going to be creating a lexa, new lexa from the source. This already like feels like a usable language. I can program in that. right? I mean, it's just like you have all of the necessary things in here. You can read files. You have if conditions. You have classes. You have variables. What else do you need? It's a very much usable language. I don't see any problems with that. Right, seems good to me. Okay, so we keep getting subs. People are subscribing like crazy. Holy shit. Okay, so Landald, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your nickname. With the message, I've been watching you edit text files for 1 year. I'm really glad that you still watching me editing text files. It's actually really weird. You guys are literally watching some dude from the internet editing text files. That's literally what you're doing. Okay, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription, Valeni. Thank you. With the message, Tsoding pogging indeed. I'm pogging right now. I cannot stop pogging. Right. My skull is already hurting. That's how much pogging I am. I am pogging. Anyway, so let me see what else we need to implement. Right, so essentially here, what we want to do. We want to keep pulling out the tokens, right? So I suppose one of the things we can do, we can start doing the following thing. So Lexa, next token, right? And of course, next token shouldn't get anything in here, right? So this is going to be next token, and I would expect to do something like this. While we do have some sort of a token, we keep printing the tokens, right? So we keep printing those tokens, and we keep pulling out the tokens out of this thing, right? So that's how we are going to be iterating through all of the tokens, right? So can I actually run this entire thing from Vim? As far as I know, I can. So I can literally do something like php c.php to do not implemented. That's actually kind of cool, but it doesn't tell me where exactly it failed. That's what's weird about it. Right, C. Really? Is that really it? Die just literally dies without telling you where exactly it died. Okay, so let's Google it up. PHP die location. I mean, I would expect it to at least tell me where exactly it died. Right. So equivalent to exit. Okay. Is there something like maybe I don't know, location? Something like error maybe. Display errors, error handling. Die file and line. Can you give me that information? How to include files in die function. Maybe that's what one. Maybe I should actually use Google for this one, right? So because DuckDuckGo doesn't seem to how to read a large file. Nah. Okay. I don't know. This function sucks. This function sucks. We should not use it. Does PHP have exceptions? Exceptions. Can I just throw an exception? Okay, so it looks like it does have exceptions, and I would expect it to also give you the location. Okay, you can throw some shits. Right. Can I click on it, please? Oh, okay, so it's just that. I need some examples. Throw error exception. Throw new error exception with a message, and so on and so forth. So I wonder if I can just say throw new error exception and literally just, you know, not implemented, right? So we're gonna do it like that. So if I do that, okay, so, and it tells me at least the line where it failed, right? It doesn't tell me precisely, or maybe it does tell me precisely. I think the line is like, okay, so I can use this kind of thing. I wonder if I can even create a function, something like to do with a message, right? And inside of that message, I can say, okay, do the following thing. plus. I think the string concatenation in PHP is slightly different, right? So string concatenation, I think it's like dot or something. Yeah, it is dot. So you're supposed to use like dot in here. There we go. So, and we can do it like that. Right, to do. Right. Maybe you can say next token, right? So, and if I just do it like that, okay, so it actually fails, and we know precisely where it is failing. So this is actually very weird stack trace, isn't it? Right, so first it's at 15, then it's at 24, and then it's on line 4. This stack trace is all over the place. Wait, what? What the fuck is this stack trace? Where does it start and where does it end? Where is the... Ooh. Randomly ordered stack trace. It's not a stack trace anymore, right? Oh boy. Imagine some people actually program in this language like every day for money. So I cannot imagine that. So thank you so much, Amairu, thank you so much for tier 1 subscription. Thank you. And Enumerate, thank you so much for 100 bits with the message Pogging requires sacrifice. Thank you so much for the sacrifice. I really appreciate your sacrifice. Alrighty, so we need to do the next token. So we need to be able to keep track of the state of the Lexa, right? So that's what we need to be able to do. I'm going to be keeping track with the cursor, right? So this is basically the current position of the cursor, right? As we parse things around. So another thing that we need to keep track of is where the line begins. So I'm basically replicating my usual Lexa that I use for like a majority of the languages that I develop. Right, so essentially in a Lexa, I treat the entire file as a continuous sequence of characters. So for me, this is a continuous sequence of characters, and right, I don't view it as like sequence of lines or anything. Like I don't care. It's a sequence of characters, right? So and we may have a source code like this. So we can have include stdio, then new line, then int main void, right? Then new line, and so on and so forth. Right. So, and essentially cursor just points at the current thing that we're parsing. Right. And as I go and parse things around, right, I update the cursor. But as soon as I encounter a new line, I actually set the ball to that specific value, and I keep it like that, and I continue parsing further, right? Like so. So I know the character at which the current line begins, and I have the current cursor. So, and this makes it super easy for me to calculate, for example, column, right? If I want to know at which column I'm currently am, I can just take the cursor and subtract the ball. That's how I can do that, right? And also, I like to keep track of the current row I'm currently in. Right, and this is enough information for me to know precisely where am I located, right? So yeah, basically that's basically how I do that, and I think it's pretty convenient. Right, I don't know if I have to initialize all of that, but I'm gonna initialize all of that just in case, right? So yeah, I think I do need to initialize all of that because it's a dynamic language, so this thing doesn't know the types of all of these things, right? So I have to explicitly tell it what they are. Right, so because of that, all these things are going to become zeros and stuff like that. All right, that's pretty cool. So what we're going to be doing, the first thing I want to do, I want to basically maybe trim like all of the white spaces, like trim left or something like that. So I would expect this function to effectively just keep chopping the characters while they are pointing at a white space, right? So that's basically the idea. Right, and because of that, it's usually very convenient to have a function, something like a chop character, right? So let's actually call it chop character. And what it will do, it will basically remove one of the characters and then update the cursor, if necessary, update the ball, and also update row again if necessary, right? So let me see what we can do in here. I need to be able to take the length of the string, so I really don't know how to do that. So let's actually go ahead and Google it up. Length of string. Length of string. So there is strlen, right? So I wonder if I can just like try to use that. So I'm gonna just comment this thing out, right? And let's print echo size of file, and I'm not sure how I have to handle that. I think I'm gonna do it like this, right? strlen on the content, right? And then we can do like a new line in here, because it's a number, right? So that means I should be able to just like concatenate these things like that. Right, but again, I'm really scared of PHP sudden conversions and shit like that, because the way PHP converts values between different types is fucking scary. Right, I remember like a classical example, PHP MD5 float conversion, Stack Overflow or something like that. I wonder if I can find that. How to no, I don't remember. Making sense of metadata, but there was a, like, I keep forgetting, I should make a bookmark on this thing. Essentially there was a Stack Overflow thingy. Oh yeah, this one. Yeah, this is so bizarre. Right, so this thing is equal to this thing. Why the fuck these things are equal to each other? We can try to check them, right, in PHP. Do we have a PHP repo? Maybe we don't even need PHP repos, because I can just do something like this. Well, I mean, I probably need to do echo, right? So I probably need to do echo. Well, it probably waits until the end of the script, so let's actually give it a try. Right, so echo. So close that, and yeah, it didn't work. Okay, so maybe I can just copy paste. Is there a PHP repo or PHP repo mode of some sort? PHP repo. CLI. Okay, so this thing is useless. Online compiler. Interactive shell. PHP -a. Okay, because I do remember there was something like that. Okay. So let's actually see what do we have in here. So we have this thing, and we have this thing. So as you can see, they are completely different. But if you compare them, right, are they equal to each other? I think double equals should actually reveal if they actually are or not. It will basically tell you, yes, they are equal. So the question is, what the fuck is going on in here? They're obviously different, but PHP says they're, you know, the same. So, and this is because they all start with 0e, which makes them look like floats in a scientific notation. So, there is an explanation in here. So, so they are both float number format strings, numerical string, and if you use equal in PHP when compare a number with a string, or comparison involves numerical strings, then each string is converted to a number and the comparison performed numerically. Both of the strings are converted to 0 when compared with equal. If you want to compare the string as a string, remember to use a triple equal. Right, so this is such a weird thing. And you know, you can say, okay, you used equal, this one is on you, right? You used equal, but remember, we are comparing string with a string. The result of MD5 is a string. The result of this MD5 is a string. Equal is very lousy. It converts between the types, but we're comparing literally two strings. It knows both of them are strings. It knows both of them are strings, and it still converts them to numbers. This shit is crazy even for something like JavaScript. Even JavaScript doesn't do shit like that. I mean, I do understand that it's equals, haha, it's, you're not supposed to use it, but again, this is crazy. It's too crazy. It's even crazy for something like JavaScript. Even JavaScript won't do shit like that. So you have two strings. You convert both them to numbers. Fucking, how on earth does that make any sense? Like, behavior of JavaScript at least makes some sense to some extent. Anyway, I'm sorry. It's just like, it left such a huge impression on me. It's just like I can't forget about it. This shit traumatized me. Like, this thing literally traumatized me. Anyways, so let me put it in the reference in here. It's just like, it's a huge trauma for me. I just can't forget this, and that's why I'm really scared to just like do this kind of stuff. Right. So, but I suppose it's gonna be fine. Okay, size of file is 0. Yay, because we didn't read any file. I wonder why though. Because here's the hello. Okay, guys. So because it's not a content, it's the source. That's why. Okay, so unexpected Alexa. That's fine. What else? The size is 79. So if we take a look at the size of the file, it is in fact 79 bytes. I think that is absolutely perfect, right? I think we mastered PHP. We now PHP masters. So essentially what we want to do here, we want to check, right, if this, this cursor is less than the str length of this source. There we go. I wonder if I have to prefix this every time. Do I have to do that? Right, or is it only required when it's like unclear, like in this specific case? I feel like I don't have to do that, right? Yeah, I think I don't have to do that because it doesn't make any sense. If this thing is less, what I have to do, I have to basically like increment this entire thing, and that's basically it. Wait, it is required? What's the point of having classes then? Wait, really? You have to use this always. I don't believe you. I need to try that. I'm sorry. I do not believe you. I never believe the chat. So I'm gonna do Alexa chop char. Right. So let me give it a try. So I'm gonna start this thing, and unexpected plus equals and syntax error. Okay, so 25. I'm gonna just make it equal to 0 because I'm not sure if it has plus. Yeah, so are you telling me that I have to do this shit all the time? Right, use of undefined constant source. Well, I mean, we can just do something like that, right? Can we? What's the point of having methods then? Anyways, okay, so that's fine. That's totally fine. Okay, it's very cool, and it seems to be happy now. Okay, so here's the thing. Here is the thing. I need to update ball and row if the character that we chopped is actually a new line, right? So that's what we need to have. So essentially, I wonder if I can do the following thing. Can I do source cursor? This cursor. Can I do something like that? And just save this entire thing to here. By the way, this is something that scares me. Does that create a global variable with the name X? Because I know these motherfucking dynamic languages. I worked with these scripting languages for too long. right? I know that they absolutely fucking love to create a global goddamn variable every time you just declare something that looks local. They absolutely fucking love that. They love that shit. So I do not believe that this thing does not create some sort of a global variable. Right, I need to double check that. Right. And how do these languages become popular? That's the real question. How do they even become popular in the first place? It's just like, what? Anyway. Sorry. Okay, PHP local variable. Variable scope. Okay, so there's some information about variable scoping. Okay. The scope of a variable in the context within which it is defined. For the most part, all PHP variables only have a single scope. This single scope spans included and required files as well. For example, blah blah blah. Reference to a local scope variable, global scope variable, local scope variable. Right, but you never defined a. Right. So any variable used inside a function is by default limited to the local scope. So you tell me this is not going to work, right? Because it's a local scoped variable. I'm actually really curious, right? So this will throw some sort of an error, you're telling me, right? So global scope, and then I'm gonna just do test. Yep, and wow, a surprisingly sane handling of scopes? What the fuck is this shit? Right, you're telling me that it has a sane handling of scopes? I can't believe that. Like, I mean, we just witnessed this motherfucker to convert two strings to numbers just to compare them. We just witnessed that. Absolute freaking insanity. And then it hits us with a sane handling of scopes? I do not believe that. Like, there must be some sort of a catch. There must be some sort of a catch. Like, I just don't believe that. Anyway. Okay. So let's continue. So that means I can just save that. And here's the thing. Oh, by the way, can I just address the strings with square brackets and get some sort of like a character? And will that work with Unicode and stuff like that? So this is actually a very interesting question. Right, so if I do echo, let's do something like this, right? And in here, I'm gonna do echo source, and I'm gonna take the first character, or maybe 0's1, right? So I just wanna see what's going to happen. Right. Okay, so it got the first character, so that should be fine. I wonder what's gonna happen if it goes out of bounds. Does it even check out of? It does check out of bounds. Look! This is a safe language. It has out of bounds check. It's as safe as Rust. So yeah. Anyway, so let's continue. Okay, that's cool. So what I want to do in here, I want to check if x is equal to the new line. And of course, just in case, has to be triple. And if it is equal to the new line, what we want to do is to actually set the ball to the cursor, right? So we want to set the ball to the cursor, and we want to increment the row, right? So this is basically going to be chop char, right? So this is what we're going to have. So this is a very useful function. And essentially, we're going to use this function for trim left. So essentially, while this cursor is less than strlen this source, and this is going to be used very often. This specific, like expression. So maybe it makes sense to actually extract that to some sort of a function, right? Something like is empty. Yeah, I think this is a good one. So, and is empty is essentially this entire expression, right? So we're gonna do something like this, right? And we're gonna just return this entire thing like so. So, and hopefully this is going to be as easy as this is empty. Yeah, this is empty. No, not really. This is not empty. But I don't know how to come up with Let's call it not empty. Sure. Not empty. Right. So not sure if it's actually shorter, but I mean that's fine. This is not empty, right? While this is not empty, and this source, this cursor is space. But the question is, does it have something like is space, right? PHP is space. Okay, it does. So essentially, I want to just check if the current thing is equal to the space. So Intel char, is that some sort of like a separate package? Can I use this thing like PHP minus a? Right, so Intel char is space, and of course this thing is not available. So what does this mean? Human language and character encoding into L. Internationalization functions. How am I supposed to use that? Is that like a separate package, or yeah, it feels like some sort of a separate thing. So you know what? I think I want to make a small break because I ran out of tea. And my brain actually stops working. So after a small break, we're going to continue working on this entire thing. And yeah. All right. So let's continue. So we're trimming left. So what I need is basically being able to check whether this is a space or not. I don't want to be dealing with like separate packages and whatnot. So maybe I'm gonna actually create my own space, but I mean, it would be nice to just use this entire thing. And it seems like PHP just does have the function, but it's located in some sort of a package and it won't tell me how to use this package because it's like documentation and shit. Okay, PHP is space example. Just give me an example how to use that. And I would be super, like, yeah, cool, but how do I use that? Right, so there is some sort of a package. How do I use that? Right. Cool. This doesn't work for me. I'm super happy that you just like telling me how to do this thing, but it just doesn't work for me. Right. As you can see, it just like it doesn't know this kind of thing. Like, and this is the funny thing. This example that just doesn't tell you what to do to get this thing. Right, it just doesn't tell you. It's a bad example. Okay, so we're like actually doing it without it. So I should have not wasted that much time. I'm not installing some shit. So we're gonna have some sort of like is space. And essentially what I'm gonna do is that, yeah, I'm gonna just compare it to a bunch of things. Essentially this is going to be a new line, right? Maybe it has to be like this. Yeah, I feel like it has to be like this. Right, so and this one is going to be space, maybe some tabs, but I don't plan to use tabs, but maybe it makes sense to actually include this entire thing, right? So let's have tabs here as well. Okay, so you see, like, I wasted so much time just to research how to to use this getDem function. I just like implemented it myself very freaking quickly. Right, so I'm using like a wrong thing in here, but yeah. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Let me close the chat. All right. So is space. So we have this some sort of a convention in here that I put underscore in here, right? Because it's come from here. Right. So is space, while this entire thing is space, right? So what I'm going to be doing is basically chop a character, right? So we're trimming the left. So cool. After we did that, what I want to do, right? I want to check if we reach the end, right? I want to check if we reach the end. So I think we're going to treat essentially we're going to treat the hash symbol as the comment, right? Because we're not gonna have like we're not gonna handle the preprocessor. We're not gonna handle the preprocessor. So that means while this is not empty, right? This is not empty, and this source, right? This source cursor is equal, right? Is equal to that. We're going to be doing the following thing. We're going to be dropping the line, right? So basically, as soon as we encounter like a hash sign, we just need to drop the entire line, right? So, and we'll probably create a separate function for that, right? Which is actually super easy to implement, right? So drop line. So in this case, we're going to do drop line. So this is a drop line. And after we drop the line, we have to repeat this entire thing. And we do that in this sort of loop, right? So until we either reach the end or this thing is not equal to the hash sign, right? So that's basically the idea. So after that, if this thing finally reach the end, right? If this is empty, right? If it's in fact is empty. So maybe I should create like a separate function. Right, is empty, because it's actually kind of easy to confuse myself, right? If this entire thing is empty, I'm probably gonna just return false, right? So I'm just returning false, and that is basically it. So here, next token, yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it as it is. So is not empty. Let's create is empty, right? So we're gonna create is empty, and since I already have is not empty, I'm gonna implement it as not. This is not empty, right? Is not empty, like this. There we go. Right. So let's continue. This thing is empty, and I just return false, and false is going to indicate the end of the stream of the tokens, right? So that's basically the idea. Okay, so after that, what we're looking for, right? Essentially, what we're looking for. I'm probably gonna open like a separate thing in here, and yeah. So we're looking for symbols, right? So essentially like names, things that start with alphanumeric, right? And also we're probably looking for special symbols like parents, curly braces, and so on and so forth, you know, the usual things, right? So I suppose we need to create another class, and that another class is going to be the class of a token, right? So I think that does make sense to have a class of a token. And the class of a token is going to have what? Right, so it's probably going to have the usual like type that I like to have in here. But I like to have types as enumerations, right? You know, does PHP have enumerations? PHP enumeration. Does it have enumeration? Right, enumerations. You can literally do it like that. That's actually kind of cool. So cases. You have to put case in here. That's really weird. Alright, so let's give it a try. So maybe I can literally just have a token type in num. I can't have that. Is that a separate package of some sort? Basic enumerations are a restricting layer on top of classes and class constraints. When were they introduced? When were they introduced? I have a feeling that it is not supported. This is extremely sus. This is extremely sus. So I'm gonna just like use a separate thing in num PHP, right? So this is gonna be like that. And I'm gonna copy paste this entire thing. Right, so the thing that bothers me is that the text editor does not even support that, right? It doesn't highlight it properly. So this text editor also, like the web one, also doesn't highlight this thing. So maybe that's fine, maybe it's such a fresh feature, but I also have an old PHP, so that could be a problem. So in PHP, unexpected suit is string, so it is not supported, right? So the question is, what am I even looking at, right? So it's probably like a something new, right? So there's no enumeration. Okay, PHP 7, I suppose. Maybe it's something from PHP 8, right? Enumerations on PHP. I know that PHP doesn't yet have enumerations, right? So they were introduced relatively recently. Since PHP 8, enumerations... Oh, okay, so it is from PHP 8, but we're not using PHP 8 because I have old PHP. So depending upon the case, you normally use something like this. You literally have to auto-increment these things. Okay. So, and you also use like an abstract thingy in here. I remember that there was a way in PHP to create some sort of like a constants through define or something. PHP define. If I'm going to be using like enumerations, I might as well actually use those things. If you know what I mean, right? Yeah, so there's this thing which creates constants. Yeah, I can create these kind of things, and you don't have to provide like a $sign in there. And I have to provide any $sign in here. So maybe this is what I'm going to be using. Alright, so what is it called? c.php. Okay, so let's define something like maybe, so you have to use strings and whatnot, right? So token, so we're gonna have token name, right? So there will be token name, which is gonna be 0. All right, maybe we can define things like token. So this one is a bit hard. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna actually use it like that. So let me see. So I'm gonna switch to hello.c. So we're gonna have oparent, something like this. And I wonder if I can have iota, right? So I can have a similar thing that I had in JavaScript a long time ago, essentially create iota, which is like initially 0, and just do something like ++. Yeah. So that way it is super easy to add new things in here and even reorder them. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but that's an interesting idea, isn't it? Right, so we're gonna have a token close parent, right? And then iota ++. So define, so token, curly, right? So that's what we need to have. ++, and this is another one, right? So it makes it super easy to just copy paste this thing, the line without adjusting any numbers or anything like that. So open curly, close curly. So maybe we also need to have a semicolon, right? I can see the semicolon, semicolon. That's right. So on top of the name, we probably need to have a number, right? So number. Let's actually put it in here because we're also going to have strings, right? String literals. So number, string. Do we have anything else? We may have keywords, I suppose, right? So but usually the keywords are separate tokens, right? So did I capture everything? I think I captured everything. Right, so we literally have everything in here. So, okay, can I just now do echo, and I want to do something like token name, right, and I want to just see its number. So it's token name, and then for oparent, I just want to see some of them in here. Right, and in here, surprisingly, this one is highlighted, and this one is not. Is token name already something existing in PHP? It could be actually. It could be actually something already existing in there, but that's fine. Okay, so I need to do c.php. Right, so it doesn't like what is going on here. So on line 28, this is because, of course, I forgot this thing. It still doesn't like what's going on line 28. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna temporarily disable this entire thing. Right, so temporarily disabling it. So now it doesn't like what's going on in the line 70. For a dynamic language, it is complaining a lot, honestly. Right, so okay, so it kind of worked. Of course, we didn't have any new lines in here, right? So let's actually add some new lines, and that should be fine. But yeah, it actually worked. My entire idea with IOTA freaking worked. Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty cool. Okay, good. So who needs enumerations? So we can create our own enumerations. So here's the type, and the type is going to be equal to one of these things, right? So we're also going to have the text, right? So token has a type and token has a text, and token is supposed to also have some sort of a location, right? But I'm not sure if it's a particularly good idea, right, to have it in here. But maybe it is a good idea. So location. But for the location, I usually like to create like also separate class or separate structure, so to speak, right? So this is the location, and usually it's basically the file path, right? So more of a file path where exactly that shit has happened, and then the row at which that happened and the column at which that happened, right? Of course, right? So that's what we wanna have in here, and we probably need to create a constructor, function construct, and we're going to accept all of these things in here. Is there some sort of like a structures in PHP so I don't have to create this much boilerplate? Right, is there something like that? That would have been nice, I think. Can I now go here and just replace file name with a row? Boom, it didn't fucking work for some reason. I wonder why. I just wanted to, well, so file path with row. Oh yeah, I think I know why that happened. Right, replace row with column. Boom. So that's what I want to be able to do. Cool. And when we create a token, public function. Is there something like structs in PHP? Right, so it will be actually convenient, but I suspect it's not. There is no such things. PHP struct. PHP struct. Okay, RFC structs does have struct data type. Probably not. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have them because it would have been too modern for such language. So we can have array, like associated array, or a standard object. So you can just, okay, I see. So basically the answer is no. Construct, and we're gonna have type text. Though in case of a token, we're gonna be filling those things up gradually, so this thing doesn't really require any particular constructor, right? So because I usually implement it like so, right? So we start with a token, right? So we cleaned everything up, and we just create a new token, right? So this is going to be just a new token, and for that new token, I set its location to the current location of the Lexa, right? So this is going to be like that. So, and then if this entire thing is sort of empty, right? Well, I mean, we still need to at least initialize some of the things that we create this stuff. Right, so, I mean, it probably would make sense to just accept at least the location. Right, so let's go ahead and do that. Public function, construct. So we're gonna accept only the location. And this location is going to be the location, and the type initially is going to be just 0, right? So we're gonna call it a 0. actually changed my mind. I want to provide everything in here. Like straight up. So having this as a type might create some problems, right? Because it's already highlighted, but maybe not. Right, so we'll actually see. Okay. So essentially, if this is empty, we just return false. If it's not, right, we're gonna start with yeah, we need to save the current location, right? So we need to save the current location. So this is gonna be this is gonna be the location. And let's start with checking if something is equal to alphanumeric, right? So, and here is an interesting thing. Man, I need is alphanum, is alnum. Do you have something like it? You have to install that stupid Intel char thingy that I absolutely hate, and it doesn't even explain it how to install it properly. I just don't want to deal with installation. Right, I just don't want to do that. Maybe I can use regular expressions. Is there any way to use regular expression? C-type L0. Wait, so there is literally functions from C-type of C. Why the DuckDuckGo or Google didn't fucking tell me about? So that essentially means that PHP has C-type is space. Why Google didn't fucking tell me that? This is so bad. Oh my god. Like, it should have, like, actually understood my intent. Dude. The modern search engines are garbage. They're garbage. Holy shit. It's insane. Like, they're wasted so much time. Right, so something like ChatGPT could have actually probably figured that out, but I don't have an access to ChatGPT because I'm banned by OpenAI, because OpenAI made an assessment and came to a conclusion that me having an access to their product actually possess a threat to humanity. So that's why I have to use garbage search engines and I can't have an access to ChatGPT, unfortunately. So, yes. Let me see. So can we have C-type space, right? So space like so, and at least it didn't complain with an error. C-type space, right? All right, so that's pretty cool. So that means I can use that shed in there. So we need this thing. And let me find is space. Where do we use is space? So trim left, I still didn't implement it, so I should probably do in here just in case. So this is going to be trim left. So where is another is space? Okay, so this doesn't matter. That means it doesn't matter. Okay, so if this source. Okay. If source is what? Is alpha, right? So essentially, the numbers start with numbers, of course, and the identifiers only start with alphas, right? So I wonder if I can have like a list of all of the functions available in here. Can I have that? So C-type, where is it? Oh yeah, here we go. So C-type. So C-type alpha. Type alpha. So this thing is alpha, and in that case, we basically have to get characters while they are alphanumeric. Right, so maybe we will have to save some sort of an index, right? So this is going to be an index, and it starts at cursor. Right, so it's essentially start at cursor. And while this is not empty, and C-type lnum, right, so lnum, this source this cursor, this cursor, we essentially increment this index by 1. But this is not particularly convenient, right? So this is not particularly convenient because we're removing the characters. We're not actually removing them. Yeah, we're not actually removing them because we're operating on the level of the indices, right? We're operating on the level of the indices, so that should be fine. I don't even have to increment the index, I can just keep it as it is, so then I can do a chop character, right? So that's what we do. So we're chopping until we reach this entire thing. So I also want to be able to do some sort of a slicing, right? So I need to do PHP slicing. I need to do PHP slicing. So you can do, well, array slice, no. String slices, I want to do string slices, but maybe strings are basically arrays, right? So you can do substring, which is fine. Right, so you can do substring, so start and length, this is actually perfect, right? So this is actually perfect. So, and essentially, after I reach the end or something unfamiliar, I can basically just return a new token, right? So this is going to be new token, I have to provide the location is here. So I have to provide the type has to be token name, right? So this is a token name. And the text itself, right? So we have to do substring, substr. I provide the source, right? So this is the source, where this all starts, the index, and the length of this entire stuff. So we have to take this cursor. You can't see shit, by the way, right? So because I forgot to put something behind my camera, right? I forgot to put something behind my camera. Right. So, and now we should be able to see that. So at least like I can't see shit, so that means I know what I need to do. Maybe I'm gonna simply take this entire stuff and just move that into a text in here, just a temporary thing, like so. Then I'm gonna do it like that. So there we go, we managed to tokenize a single name. All right. All right. So let me see. Thank you so much, Nosbayon, for Twitch Prime. Thank you. Enrique Narda, thank you so much for tier 1. Thank you. All right. So I suppose this is fine. So we can already start trying to actually handle, actually print whatever we got from the Lexa, right? So we can already start trying to do that. So interestingly, right? So here is the token, and from within the token we should have the like location and everything. By the way, I remember that PHP had like some sort of a string interpolation, right? So can I use that? Right, PHP string interpolation. PHP string interpolation. How can you manually interpolate the string? Does it have a string interpolation? I don't quite remember. So yeah, being able to use this thing within the string. So let me see. There are more mechanisms in PHP string literals to replace placeholders. You can do sprintf. Okay, so that makes sense. It's not necessarily what I want to do here, but maybe that's what I want to do in here. Yeah. So let's actually give it a try. Because one of the things I want to be able to do, I want to be able to just like print the location. So I want to do sprintf, right? So in here, we're going to accept the file path, right? So then the row, then the column, right? And then something in here, or some sort of a token. Maybe we're going to put text in here, right? So this is going to be basically a text. And in here, we're going to do token, location of the token, and its file path. I'm pretty sure it is a file path. Right. And the problem here is that this is too long, right? So for each individual thing in here, I have to do token, right? Token, location, row, right? It's too long, like, dude. I don't want to type it out like that, right? It's just, is there any better way to do that? I might as well just try to maybe have a function in here, something like toString or maybe display, right, that will effectively return a printf, right, and just do that for me, right? Because this is just like too long. This file path, this row, this column. There we go. So, and then here I can just do something like s, so then I can basically display like so. Yeah, that's much better. That's much better. And then text, right? I'm not sure if that's a good idea generally, but I mean, we can just try. Okay, so let's actually try to run this entire thing and see if we manage to tokenize anything. Okay, we didn't tokenize anything, but that's kind of expected. Sort of, right? I kind of expected that it's not gonna work first try. That is totally fine. So let me see on which line it happened, right? So, okay, so we have some things that are not implemented yet, right? Some things that are not implemented. So trim line, trim left specifically, right? So while this is not empty and this source, this cursor, right, so this is going to be c.type space, right, c.type space. While it is space, we essentially just chop a character, right? So we do chop char, and there we go. So that's basically the implementation. We'll probably also have to implement a line, right? So how are we going to be doing that? While this is not empty, right, and this source, this cursor, not equal to a new line, right? To a new line, what I have to do, right, is essentially chop a character, right? Chop a character. Right, I'm just chopping a character. So it's kind of funny that it just does not equal, right? So, and here's an interesting thing. So if this is not empty, if this is not empty, we probably need to do another chop to get rid of the new line as well, right? So that's the usual thing. Okay, so let's go through the compilation errors. Okay, so and this is scary. This is what I don't like about PHP, is that because this mother flipper just silently didn't work. It didn't throw a single goddamn error. A single goddamn error, it just silently didn't fucking work. Oh boy, we're off to a great start. Okay, so that's cool. Right, so let me see. Okay, it literally didn't return anything. Right, so what if I do just something like that? Right, so what if I just like put it like that? I wonder. Okay, so token is literally nothing. So it already returned nothing, which is understandable, right? So this is really weird. Right, so we can try to debug it in here. So did it fail in here? So I'm gonna do plus, right, so just to see if it's actually failed in here. Okay, so it actually went in here, so it is in fact empty. Right, and if I do is empty, so that doesn't make any sense, honestly. Right, so let's do echo. Right, and in here we can have cursor, right, so this is going to be a cursor. This cursor, and we'll probably want to do something like this. 79. The cursor is at 79, so something went wrong in here horribly. Okay, so let me take a look at the trim line. While this is not empty and this thing is a space, we chop a character. Makes sense to me, so everything fine. So not, ooh, this one is actually okay. So triple, yeah, I think that's what I have to do in here. I have a feeling that this is what I have to do in here, but it still didn't really help. But I mean, you know. So if I don't drop any lines in here, it just like never stops. Right. I'm not sure what the hell is going on. Right, so this is not empty. And it is equal to, okay, so that kind of makes sense, right? So what I meant to do in here is to just disable this thing, right? Because I want this thing to fail at here. I wanted it to fail at here. So, but it doesn't work. It still goes indefinitely. Right. Which is, I mean, this is not how it works, right? Can I have, I can't have nested things, god damn it. Yikes. Okay, so what I want to do, essentially, is just something like this. Right, yeah, so this is what I expected in here, yeah. Okay, so this thing is not empty, and the cursor is equal, strictly equal to this thing. And in this case, I would expect to drop a line and do another trim left, right? So, and then it goes back. If it's not empty, but it's not equal to that, it will just drop down. Makes sense to me, right? So that must be a problem with the drop line, right? So there must be a problem with the drop line. Okay, so this is not empty, and the source not equal to the new line, we just keep chopping it. And if after doing all of that, we came to the conclusion, we came to the situation when it's still not empty, that means we have new line, we have to chop it off. Makes sense to me. Where is the mistake? Why does it chop everything, like literally everything up until the end of this thing? So it could be because like drop line literally removed everything. Drop line didn't notice any of this stuff. Right, it literally didn't notice any of this stuff. So we can try to do something like this. Right, we can do drop line. Right, and this cursor. Right, so this is the cursor, and let me see. So of course, if I got a new line in here, right, of course, if I got a new line. Okay, so, and yeah, it didn't stop at a new line. It literally didn't give a shit. Right. It literally didn't give a shit. So that's very interesting. And I can already see why. So Vim already kind of hints me why this could be the case. Because of the different quotes, right? Because with the single quotes, as you can see, it doesn't highlight this kind of stuff, but with double quotes, it does. So maybe I should stop using single quotes. Let me actually go through all of the places where I use... Okay, so there's a lot of places where I did the same mistake. The language is shit. Like, okay, I should not even blame myself for this kind of stuff. Okay, so that's cool. All right. So, and what do we have in here? So, uncaught call to... Okay, finally, it actually failed at the place where it's supposed to fail. So there's no such thing as lock. Right, so finally we managed to debug all of that properly. Right, so that's pretty cool. So this is gonna be lock. And what we need to return in here, we just need to return the file path. We don't even have a file path in Alexa, right? So we don't even have a file path in Alexa because we don't know any about any of this stuff. Right, so let's create a file path. So here's the file path, and maybe this one is also going to store the file path, right? So, and in here, this is going to be this file path, right? So file path, and as we do the log, right? So file path. And the row we kind of do, okay, so this one is, it has to be this, this. So what else do we have to have? A row, and the column is going to be computed by subtracting ball from the cursor, right? Subtracting ball from the cursor. So that's basically it. That is basically it. All right. So okay, so let's try to rerun it one more time and go to the next line exactly. My chat just fucking like everything in Twitch just freaking crashed. You can't make that shit up, I swear to God. Like, you just can't make that up. That's how bad everything is. Holy shit. All right. Okay, so I think I want to make another break. All right, so because this is too intense. So yeah, let's make another break. Okay, so let's continue going through the compilation errors, right? So I'm kind of doing compiler assisted refactoring, but with the dynamic language. All right, so what do we have in here? Too few arguments to construct the lexa. Okay, so that makes sense. I need to find new lexa. Right, so now I have to provide a file path. Right, but I call it file name in here, which is kind of lame. So let me rename this entire thing to file maybe path. Right, so this is going to be, it didn't really work for some reason. Right, file name, file path. Yeah, there we go. So that's what I wanted. Cool. Oh, holy shit. Okay. So use an undefined file path 13. That makes sense. Sure. What else? That's such a long warning. Oh, it's actually 2 warnings. Okay. So 14. What else did we do in here? Okay, so there's these things that needs to be done. So what else do we have in here? 136 token. Object token could not be converted to a string, but I don't really want to convert it to a string. Right, it would be nice if it just, like, you know, debug printed it, but apparently it cannot do that, which is, I guess, fine for now. Right, so okay, so let's try to pull out some tokens. Okay, so that went kind of somewhere. Right, so it basically identified this as a token, which is absolutely incorrect, by the way. Right. Which is absolutely incorrect, but that's fine. Yeah, it is incorrect because here I'm supposed to provide the length, and length is going to be the current cursor minus the index that we got in here. Right, so that's basically the idea. Okay, that's really cool. So look, we managed to identify 2 tokens, right? So maybe it would even make sense for me to do something like set make PRG, right? PHP. You know, I need to escape the space and then c.php, right? Something like this, and then I'm going to do make, right? And it's going to yeah, it actually jumped there, but I feel like it suffers from the same problem as Emacs, is that it expects the lines and columns to start numerating from 1, right? Which is, I mean, we can kind of fix that. Right, so let me find display, right, and for the rows, right, for the rows I have to do +1, and for the columns I also have to do +1, that's fine. So it's the make, As far as I know, it's kind of like C open. Okay, so as you can see, I can just like jump to the token int, and then I can jump to token main, right? So we successfully basically identified two tokens, and this thing, it actually ignored this entire thing. So we managed to parse up until here. Isn't that cool? Well, not really parse, but tokenize, if you know what I mean. Right, we managed to tokenize up until that point. Right, which is already something, right? So for some reason, tokenization is usually like the biggest part for me, right? It's the biggest part. But as soon as the tokenization done, it's just basically about just making a simple parser, right? So because since we don't need to implement like the whole parser, we can only implement the parser that just parses these specific functions. The functions that return integers don't have any arguments and have just a simple body of statements, right? These kind of functions are kind of easy to parse, if you know what I mean. They kind of are easy to parse. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right, so the biggest problem here is going to be probably tokenization, right? Anyway, so now what we need to be able to do, we need to be able to parse open parent, right? So let's actually see what we can have in here. So we know for sure that the tokenizer is not empty, right? So it's not empty. We'll need to basically check the first character, and if the first character is open parent, we just have to return that specific token. At least that's the idea, right? So if this source, right, this cursor, it would be kind of nice to have a switch case, if you know what I mean, right? So some sort of a switch case where we could say, okay, if it's an open parent, we have to do something. But does a switch case work with strings in PHP? So that's the real question, right? PHP switch case, strings. Show me some examples, please. Please show me some examples. I want to see some epic examples. All right, so I already opened this entire thing, but that's fine. So you can do that with numbers. Okay, that's very cool. I can see only numbers. Where are the strings? Where are the strings? Do you have strings? Yes, you can have strings. This is absolutely amazing. Okay, it's possible to use a semicolon instead of colons, like this, right? But I don't care about semicolons. I care about the strings. So okay, I'm gonna assume that you can do this kind of stuff with strings. Right. So wait, it says it's possible to use semicolons instead of colons. I think so. Isn't like in Jai? Yo, that's actually kind of cool. But you still have to provide this break, this nasty break. Alright, so it's fine. So this one is break. So essentially what I want to do, I want to simply chop one character, right? So we're going to be chopping one character in here. And if, right, so we're going to just simply return, right? And if we're going to be returning, we don't really need break. We're going to return new token in that specific location, and the token is going to be oparent, and the text is going to be just like open thing in here, and that's basically it. And we can even create a bunch of those things, right? For instance, for closed thing as well, right? But that means we just have to do it like that. It would be also kind of nice to have some sort of associative array. As far as I know, PHP does have that one, right? So PHP array. Show me some arrays. So W3 school. So yeah, I know that you can also provide like keys in there. That sucks. This tutorial sucks my ass. Got you hyper. Right. Hash map. Hash table. Hash tables, yeah, associative arrays. I think that's what I wanted. Associative array, right? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, thank you so much. That's what I wanted, and that's perfect in my opinion, because that will allow us allow us to create a thing like array, right? If you encounter open parent, you can say, okay, it's equal to token O parent, right? And we can essentially have like a sequence of those things, right? And then matching all of them is going to be basically iterating through them. Right. Or maybe not necessarily. Okay, so we can have something like literal tokens, right? Something like this. So this is a literal tokens, right? And then we can say literal tokens, this source, which is not particularly great, because what if it's not there? So we need a way to check, is this thing in there or it is not in there, right? So, but we can Google that up a little bit later, right? So I'm gonna just like postpone it for now. So in here we need to have these kind of things. So token c parent, not c curly, c parent I said. Right, so when we're talking about curly, it's gonna be something like this, token o curly, right? So this is o curly, and then token c curly. Do we need anything else? Right, I don't quite remember. So let me see. So O parent, semicolon. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's actually introduce semicolon. Right. So token semicolon. There we go. That's what we need in here. So that's the literal tokens. So is there any way to check if something is in there? Right. So we can iterate. That's pretty cool. But how do we check? Okay. PHP check if associative array contains key. Contains key. Check if associative contains key pair. Yeah, there we go. So regular people ask ChatGPT. I study the training data of ChatGPT directly. How about that? Sorry. Right. Because this is basically training data on which ChatGPT was trained. So why do I need ChatGPT if I can look up the training data of ChatGPT directly for free without paying $20? The data is free. Just fucking read the training data. Oh. Anyway. So let me see. Looking for array functions. Is set. Okay, so there's something like a set. That's pretty cool. Is set. Manual. Determine if a variable is declared is defined. That's really weird. Ah, I see. Okay, all right, so we can try to do that. So if is set, and this is literally what we have to do in here, right? I suppose. Which is like very long, right? So this is a very long expression, which makes me think I'm referring to the first character all the time within the Lexa. Maybe it would make sense for me to introduce something like first, right? So source, right, this cursor, right, and this is the first, and I can always do something like this, right, first. Of course, here is going to be invalidated, but that's totally fine, right? So I don't really care about it. So then later, it makes it super easy to just do something like this, right? So if the first is set, that means it is really easy to just chop the current character, right? We just chop in the current character, and we simply returning a token with this and tokens. Why is it called tokens? Right, so I'm gonna take this thing and we're gonna set the type of the token to this, right? And the text is gonna be the first itself. Yo, and all of that stuff is not needed. So this is how we're gonna handle all of that. Yo. But I don't really like that it's called tokens, right? So let me replace tokens with tokens. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty freaking cool. Holy shit. All right, so let's try to do the make and see. And as you can see, we managed to parse even more tokens now. Look at that. Integer, main, open parent, close parent, curly, printf, open parent. But we stopped in here because we encountered something unknown. We encountered something unknown, and we encountered string literal. To make parsing the string literals a little bit easier, I think I'm going to remove escaping. Right. We're not going to support escaping for now, right? So it should be pretty straightforward, right? So we check if we start with double quote, right? And if we do start with double quote, we just basically consume the characters until we encounter another double quote, right? So if you support escaping, you also look for backslashes and stuff like that, but we're not going to waste time on that today, right? So c.php, okay. So if first is equal to this thing, well, this is a very good use case for single quotes. I think this is a very good one. Right, so, and what we need to do, first of all, we need to chop this specific character off. Right, there we go, so we chopped it off. We chopped it off. After that, I need to save the position of the current cursor, because this is where basically the string starts, right? And then, while this is not empty, while the lexer is not empty, and this source, let's put it this way, this cursor is not equal to double quote, we keep consuming characters. This chop character, we keep consuming them. So at this point we have two situations. The stream of the character is either empty or not. If it's not empty, that means it ends with double quote, right? So if this is not empty, that means everything is fine, right? Everything is fine. And we just need to chop the last thing in here, right? So basically chop the character. But before we chop it, we need to extract the text, right? So the text is going to be equal to substring of the source starting from the index. I should have actually called the index start because it will make more sense, right? So let's actually quickly rename this kind of stuff. So this is index, but this is actually start. There we go. So this is the start, and the amount of things is going to be basically the cursor minus the start, right? So there we go. Only then it makes sense to chop off, right? Because we're chopping off the double quote. And after that, we simply return the token, right? So this is going to be a new token, the current location, the kind is going to be token string, right? So this is a string. And the text is literally the text that we got in here. So if we reached this specific place, if the string is empty, that means we have unclosed string. We have unclosed string, and what we have to do, I'm going to report an error. Right, so I'm going to essentially do a printf, I think. Right, so this is going to be something like this. We're going to have a string and an error, and we're going to simply say unclosed string literal. Right, so that's what we're going to say. And we're going to take the current location and we're going to display it, right? So we're going to convert it to a string, and there we go. That's basically it, and we're going to return false after that, indicating that, right, this is an invalid token, if you know what I mean. Okay, that's pretty cool. I think that's basically it for strings literal. So let's actually do the make. And as you can see, we managed to parse, yeah, basically up until the end, almost, right? So we encountered hello, then a close parent, right, close parent, semicolon, return, and we stopped at something new and unknown, right? We stopped at this thing. We don't know how to parse numbers. We don't know how to parse numbers, right? So let's actually go ahead and see how we can do that. So the thing about the numbers is that they start with digits, right? So that means there should be PHP C type digit, right? Something like that at least. Yeah, there's the C-type digit. This is perfect. If C-type digit first, right? So this is relatively easy, right? So we'll have to do start, which starts at this cursor, right? So it starts at this cursor, and while, excuse me, this is not empty, right? And this source, this cursor is still digit, right? So we're just looking for the digits in here. C-type digit. So if this is still digit, we're going to be chopping off this thing, right? So keep chopping it off. Cool. After we're done, I need to be able to convert this thing into a number. You know, this is very interesting. All right. So the token has a text, which implies that it could be also a string. You know what I mean? What about escape characters? We don't support them now. So I think I need to rename this entire thing into a value, right? So essentially, if the type is going to be number, this thing is going to be integer. Otherwise, it's going to be a string, right? I think it's reasonable. Right, but this is such a pain in the ass to rename and refactor. So that's the problem in here. This is a huge pain in the ass to refactor because this is a dynamic language, right? So I wonder if I can just do something like text and change it to a value, but I'm gonna do basically, you know, query replace, right? If you put C in here, right? So when you do replace and you put C at the end, Vim essentially going to every time you want to replace something, ask you, do you want to replace that? And you will have to supposed to answer yes or no, right? So as you can see here, it asks you, do you want to replace that? In this case, I'm going to say, yeah, I want to replace that. So in here, do I want to replace it with value? I think I do, right? Because at the end of the day, it goes into the token here, right? So it's kind of convenient, right? So you just do a regular S command, but you put C at the end and it acts like a query replace from Emacs, right? So, and I really like query replace from Emacs, right? Because it's just like I want to have a control over this entire thing. Bro is not reading chat. Of course I'm not reading chat. Are you saying anything of value? No, that's why I'm not reading the chat. So, what PHP version are you using? I'm using the 7th one. I'm using the 7th one. Right. Anyway, so do I want to replace this text? I think I do. I feel like in all of the cases, I do want to replace text with the value. Yeah, and there were not that many of them anyway. Okay. So what do we want to do? What do we want to do? I want to construct value one more time, right? I want to construct value one more time. So to do that, I'm going to copy paste this specific thing, right? So this is going to be the value, but I need to convert it to an integer, right? So PHP string to integer, like explicitly, right? How do I convert string to a number to PHP? Okay. Okay, so we can literally cast things. That's actually kind of cool, right? So this is the source start, and can I say integer? I can say that. That's pretty cool. So, and then we're gonna do return new token, and then location, and then token. What is it? It's going to be number and then the value. And this one has to be unreachable, I suppose, right? So this must be unreachable. There we go. We freaking tokenized everything. Look at that. We tokenized the entire C program and it took us 2 hours to do that. Isn't that amazing? I think it's goddamn freaking amazing. Holy shit. Okay, So let me see. So what do we have in here? We also were printing the cursor for some reason. I'm like, because when I did that, it printed cur equals 77. And where do I actually do that? I don't quite remember. So cur, yeah, this is where I do that. We don't need that. Nobody cares about that. So we have Alexa, so we can actually, you know, tokenize all that stuff. So the thing we need to do, we need to be able to parse a function, right? We need to be able to parse the function. How are we going to be doing all of that? That's a good question. So maybe we need to have some sort of a function, right, called parse function, right? And it's going to accept Alexa, and it's probably going to return the definition of a function, right? So the definition of a function. So maybe it's going to be a class, right? So this is going to be a function. It's already, let's call it func. Yeah. So let's call it func. So the function is going to have, I'm pretty sure it's going to have a name, right? So this is going to be a name, which is going to be string. And it probably needs, what does it need? It needs a return type, I suppose, as well, right? A return type. And that also means that we need to have some sort of a type system, right? So we need some sort of a type system. So let's introduce some types. So we already have token types, right? So something like this. Maybe we're going to have a similar enumeration for just types, right? So I'm going to set my iota to 0, right? And I'm going to define some like primitive types, if you know what I mean, right? So we need to define some primitive types. So we're going to have type integer, and this is going to be iota plus plus, right? So here we go. Iota plus plus. So I'm not going to introduce any more types because I don't think we have any more types, right? It probably makes sense to actually have something like void. All right, so we're going to have void, and then we're going to have an integer. There we go. So we have void and we have integer. Okay. So arglist, I'm not sure if we need arglist because I'm going to support only this kind of function. So my goal is to just be able to compile this thing, right? And here we don't have any arglists. So yeah, we also don't have any voids, right? So maybe because of that, it makes sense to actually not have any types. Yeah, I think it does make sense. Right, so we're only gonna have a body, right? So we're doing like a minimum, bare minimum to compile that specific function. So, and body is going to consist of statements, right? So let's actually have a statement, stmt, right? So this is how it's usually done. So it would be nice to actually have statements, like a hierarchy of statements, if you know what I mean, right? Some sort of a hierarchy of statements, but maybe not, because I wanted to have like more of an open architecture, right? Right, because I could have used polymorphism, if you know what I mean, right? But I don't want to go into that OOP route. So we can Google up how to do polymorphism. It's so abstract classes probably. Polymorphism. Okay. So yeah, that's how we can do that. So we can have like a base class statement, and then we can extend it. But I just don't like to do that because it's not particularly flexible. Right, because essentially you have to define within the interface literally everything that you might ever have to do with that specific interface, right? Which is not particularly flexible, right? So it's better to just expose the data, and whatever functions need, just use whatever they have there, right? So it's just like, I like to do this kind of stuff. Right, so, and because of that, I'm gonna probably introduce the type like so, right? And this is literally goes against any of OOP principles, and I know that, and I do that on purpose to piss OOP people off. Yes, that's precisely why I do that. Okay, so we're gonna have stmt, and we right now, by the way, have only two kinds of statements, as you can see in here. We have two kinds of statements. the first one is a function call, right? The function call and return, right? So that's what we have. So let's go back to this thing, and that means we're gonna have a fun call, right? So this is gonna be iota++, and another one is gonna be stmt, a return, right? This is another statement. This is iota++. Is a group statement a block? Yeah, I suppose it's just like two. Group and block statement is just like two different names for the same thing, maybe. Right, so and here we want to have, maybe I'm gonna call it kind, right? And in case of return, it's actually like using an abstract class would have been more convenient in here, I think. Does PHP have instance of? Does it have instance of? I think it had instance of. Yeah. There is instance of. I can use that. So, and if I want to cast something to another thing, this example is incomplete. Right. If you check instance of, you should also demonstrate like how to go further. Right. After checking to instance of, you probably cast it. Do you cast it the same way as you cast to integers? I wonder. This is not useful. This is not a useful complete example. Useful complete example would also do the cast and just demonstrate how to do this kind of thing. Oh, wait a second. This one is interesting. Is written in circle class. Wait, does the instance of automatically sort of cast the... Or maybe you don't even have to cast that because it's going to be just available there. Yo, it's a dynamic language. Yeah, it's a dynamic language. You don't need to cast. It's just like, it's like a duck typing, right? It's like a duck typing. Yeah. So because of that, maybe I don't even have to do that. Okay, so let me go to here, right? Yeah, my brain keeps thinking in like a statically typed stuff, right? I should probably stop doing that. Right, so we just have functions. So we're gonna have just like a return, return thingy. So let's call it red, maybe even red stmt. And we're going to have the expression that you return, right? So just an expression that you return. And we're going to have another one, fun call stmt. Right, and what does it have? It has a name, right? And then arguments, right? The arguments. So, and the body is supposed to be an array of these things. Right, it's supposed to be an array of these things. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, anyway, so let's actually start parsing this entire thing. So what I want to do, first thing I want to do, I want to extract the return type, right? So I want to extract the return type. We're going to do Lexa. Next token, right? So next token should be available. So we can do something like token, right? And if token is not available, right? If token is not available, we can say something like, it would be kind of nice to actually get the location, but I suppose we can have a location because we can do Lexa lock. Right, and then we can display that specific location, right? So that's what we can do, and I can say then sprintf s error expected name, but got end of file or something like that. Then we can just put it in here. Yeah. So, and I suppose after that we can just return false, right? So we log the error and we then return false after that. If everything went okay, we need to check, right? We need to check that token, token what? I think it's type, right? So I think it was type, but I don't remember already. Where is the type? It is here, so it's type. Is equal to token name, right? There we go. If it's not equal to token name, right? If it's not equal to token name, we have to also report an error. We're gonna say that we expected a name but got something else. And it would be nice to actually extract that to a separate function. That's what I usually do. Right, essentially do something like function expect token, right? And you would provide Alexa and the token type. And it would either return you that thing or not. So we can even move all of these functions there, right? There we go. So expected name. Actually, we need a way to convert token type to something else, right? So as yeah, display token type, but token type is a number, right? Token type is a number, which means that I should be able to have something like token type names and then token type. Yeah, that's cool. Can I actually do just type? I think I should be able to do just type. Yeah, token type names. That's pretty cool. And then we return false. Expected as, right, but got something else. Actually, this has to be here, right? So let's put it like that. So the first display and then token type name. Okay. So, and in here, expected that, but got something else. Right. So it, okay. So we'll put it actually here. Maybe that's fine. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. Token type names. So this is type. We expected that, but got something else. Token type names. What we got token type, which is something else. All right, we return false. Otherwise, we return whatever we managed to parse in here. So that makes it a little bit easier, I think. So this is return type. We expect token. And what kind of token do we expect? We expect token name. All right. Cool. So let me remove this entire stuff. So what I want to do, I want to just parse the function, right? I'm going to provide Alexa, and hopefully that is going to work. So far so good. This is actually like sort of like the main entry point, right? So this is a file path. We get the entire source code, right? So then we construct Alexa out of that, and we're trying to parse a function call out of that, right? So that's basically what we're doing here. So I want to check if this entire thing is going to work, right? So let me do php c.php, and yet again it didn't even complain, so that means everything was fine, which is probably correct, right? What if I try to expect a different token type in here, like something like number? Is it going to complain? It is not going to complain. This is absolutely perfect. I love it. So that means nothing worked in here. Right. Okay, that's very cool. So can I just do echo before expect, right? And here we're gonna have after. Oh, right, so that means it went inside in here. Cool. So we extract the token, right? So we can try to maybe print that token. So that means we got it. Right, so we got it, and if it's not equal... Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's basically what we have to do. I forgot to unhardcode some of this stuff, so that was the problem. And there we go. So well, something went wrong in here, specifically in here. We don't have a token type names, right? So let's go token type names, right? And we can actually kind of organize some interesting stuff in here, right? Yeah. Can we turn all of that stuff quite easily? So essentially, the easiest thing for me to do would be just turn all of these things into array, but this is kind of lame, if you know what I mean. All right. Can I, by the way, do something like this? Then everything up until the end and replace it with nothing. Maybe not really nothing, but comma. Right. Trailing characters. What do you want from me? I don't understand. Do you want me to do it like that? I don't know what it wants, honestly. So I'm not a... Though I could have just like done it like this. Yeah. Just to replace space and everything up until the end with nothing. Yeah, boy, that's cool. Cool. And I suppose I also have to do this thing. Cool. Undefined token type names in, but oh shit. How can I access a global variable? Okay, so we need to be able to access global variables. Global variables. So I'm also learning PHP. Seriously, globals. Dude, no. I reject that. Variable scope. Global. All right, so that makes sense. Global. It's like in Python. Would you look at that? Token types names. All right. Look at that. Yes. So it fails at the line 3, column 4 with an error expected number but got name. And if, yeah, there we go. That's actually pretty cool. So that's perfect, actually. Yo, what the fuck? It's too good. It's too fucking good. Right, and we're gonna be expecting actually name. Right, so, but it has to be like a very specific name, right? So if return type is not equal to int, we gotta say something like echo as printf as error unexpected type as, right? So it's not really a return type, it has to be, yeah, it has to be the value that we're extracting in there. Right, and this is return type, we might as well put it in here, and we're taking the location of this thing, we're displaying this entire stuff, and then we take the return type value, like so, and then we return false. There we go. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So let's try to do make. It's totally fine, but now let's switch to hello C, and let's say that we're going to be returning void, which is also valid, but our compiler is not going to support that. As you can see, unexpected type void, and it actually points in here. That is so freaking cool. Okay, so we can support that. So maybe we can even extract this entire thing to a separate function, right? So yeah, parse type, and we're gonna accept the Lexa, and we're gonna just like literally move this entire stuff in here, parse type, otherwise return. So this one is interesting. So I was like hesitating to actually introduce the type, but maybe it makes sense to do that, right? Because it's going to be extendable in the future in some sense, right? So let's still do that. Let's define something like type int, right? And we're going to have this kind of thing, iota ++, right? So and essentially when we parse this entire thing, since we have only one type, we're going to be just returning type int, right? So that's what we do. And we parse type, right? We just parse type from the lexer. And in here, I suppose we can just, you know, simply assert, right? We can simply assert that this thing, this return type, is equal to type integer, right? So the reason why I do all of that machinery is that it will make it easier in the future to extend, right? So if we add more types, it will be super easy to just like slap a new thing in here, hopefully. I don't know, we'll see, I don't know. It's just some sort of to think about. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, we need to get the name, right? So we're gonna have a name and we're gonna expect a certain token in here. And the token that we expect in here is gonna be token name, right? So that's pretty straightforward. So we get the name. So another thing, though, yeah, we'd have to also check a lot of things, right? So for instance, if not return type, right, we have to return false instantly. Return false, right? Because if this thing returns false, oh my god, is 0 a falsy type? Yikes. So it probably also means that in a sense of enumerations, it would be better to use string in this language. How do you remember syntax functions of different languages? That's a good question. I don't know. I just look around and mimic the thing. Right. I don't know. So essentially, I'm editing some sort of source code, right? I'm editing some source code, and around, I see that variables are prefixed with $. So I just repeat that, right? So then I need to create a function. I look around. How do you define a function? Oh, you started with a word function. So I do that. I store the knowledge about the syntax within the source code itself. Like, I don't have to remember how to refer to a variable because I have that in front of me. Why do I have to remember that? I never have to remember that. Like, do I have to remember that I have to put parentheses around the condition? No, it's in front of me. It's stored in the file in front of me. Why do you need to remember that? And this is basically how language models also do that. They just look at the text around them and predict the most possible token. Like, why do you need to remember that? I don't understand. Right. And you can do a similar thing with a known code base in a language that you never programmed in. Like, I remember an episode when one of, like I used some program that used a Ruby script, and something failed in a Ruby script. I know nothing about Ruby. I never programmed, like, at all in that language ever. The error pointed at some place in the source code. I went there and I managed to fix it because I looked around and understood how the language worked, its basic syntax, and I just modified it. Like, and I didn't even look up anything in the manual. Because why? I have examples on how to use the language in front of me. That's the thing, you don't need to remember any of the syntax. Right. It's like with mathematics, right? Because you never have to, like, if you're memorizing formulas, you're doing math wrong. You don't have to memorize anything, ever. You should be able to have an understanding to derive all of the formulas from scratch. Right. So that way you never have to remember anything. It's the same here. Just look around. Okay. Bayesian inference law. Yeah, exactly. It's actually kind of interesting. So maybe we have a thing or two to learn from language models, right? Because maybe we can just basically mimic them, right? So yeah, because it's basically mimicking a language model. Anyway, so we made language models to mimic humans, so then they can become better and we can start mimicking the language models. It went full circle, right? Or maybe we can use language models to get into, like, to get insight into how we think ourselves, right? So maybe we can use language model to better understand ourselves, because they're basically a mirror of ourselves. When you're interacting with a language model, you're almost like looking into the mirror of your consciousness, if that makes any sense. Anyway. So expect tokens, and okay, so what I was doing that, so I expected the name. The next thing I want to do, yeah, so if return, do false. If not name, also return false. We're not gonna parse any arguments right now, right? So I'm gonna say expect token Lexa token open parent, right? So if, oh yeah, I remember, this thing is false, right? PHP A if 0 echo yes, else echo no. Fuck. Right. So that means in terms of a type, it would be better to just have things like, I don't know, man, maybe literally type int, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I probably have to do this stuff here as well, which actually will make it even easier. All right, if we just, yeah, if we just make it equal to the name, I never have to even have this thing in here. I guess that makes sense, right? So it's a little bit extra work, but maybe it's worth it, if you know what I mean. But it's not really needed right now. We can do that later, right? So we can do that later, but for this thing, it is important. Okay, so here I'm gonna do another expectation. So I'm gonna do close parent, right? So as you can see, we expect open parent and close parent, and then the last thing that we expect in here is open curly, right? So if we go back into hello, right, in here we expect open parent, close parent, open curly, and that is basically it, right? So that's basically what we do. Though maybe it would be actually nice to have a thing called parse block, right? So parse block, and we're gonna provide Alexa, and we're gonna have something like body in here. But before we're gonna try to parse the block, I'm gonna just like parse this thing. And curly is gonna be part of the parse block, right? Parse block Alexa. So 13. There we go. And we got a name, we got a return type, name, and the body. So if I take a look at the function, we have a name and the body, which is fine. Right, so I should be able to do something like return new func name body. Right, so we are slowly building up the AST. just building up the AST, and maybe I need to have something like this in here. So public function construct name body, this name name this body. Okay, so let's go back, and when we're building the block, we basically have to keep parsing the statements, right? So we need to keep parsing the statements. This one is really interesting. All right, so essentially what we need to do, we need to get some token, right? So let's call it a name, expect token, Lexa token name. And we have two situations in here. If name, if name is equal to return, that means this is a return statement, right? So this is a return statement. If it's not return, that means it's a function call. Okay, cool. So this one is going to be rather interesting because what the fuck are neighbors doing? I swear to God. They're just moving furniture or something. In the middle of the night, by the way. What the fuck are they doing? Holy shit. Okay, so essentially we can basically get the next token, right? Though we can do something interesting in here. We can expect several tokens in here. We can say token name or token closed curly, right? So this is the thing that we can expect. And then depending on the type, right? If name type is equal token name, then we do that. And by the way, this has to be a value, right? So this has to be a value. So there we go. So if it is something else, right? If it is something else, we have to, if it's a curly, we have to end the entire thing. Yeah, that's actually kind of cool. So which means we can do it like that. While true, we do that if name type is equal token c curly, we break out of the loop, right? We simply break out of the loop. Right, and otherwise we do something like this. There we go. So that's the entire thing. But as we build this entire stuff, right, we have to append to the block. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so in case of the return, right, we need to get an expression. So I suppose for now, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be like literally expecting 0, right? So we're going to be literally expecting 0. Expect token. Oh, by the way, I think here we have to do something like if not expect token, Lexa token semicolon, right? So we expect semicolon, otherwise we instantly return false. So we also probably have to do block, which is going to be array, and we're going to append in stuff to that array, and then we're going to just return this block. Right, this is going to be an array. But I need to figure out, right, how to do variadics in PHP. So let's go ahead and do that. Variadics. Variadic function. Wait, you can specify the types in here? That's actually kind of cool. Optionally, right? Okay, so we can have numbers in here. All right, so can I say types? Yeah. So types. Right, so we expect this thing, and yeah. Can I do for each now? For each. Alright, show me some examples for each. So it's the other way around, but why do I have to put this thing in here? That's so weird. Array ASCII. Seriously, what the hell is that? Is that an ampersand? It is an ampersand. Well, I mean, sure. For each types as type. I'm really not sure why I have to do that, but sure. Okay. So I need a way to essentially, you know, append all of these things together. Right. So given the types, types as string. So, and I want to accept the types. So I want to be able to have something like this, right, where I just iterate for each types as type, where I would do something like s equal s dot or the type. So that's what I want to be able to do. But this is not particularly easy because I don't have to put or for the first one, right? I don't have to put or for the first time. So it would be kind of... Is there something like join? You know what I mean? Let me see. PHP join string. Yeah, you can just join it. So here's an interesting thing. I think the easiest way to do that would be to join with or these types if the types were strings, but they are not strings, they are numbers, right? And that's kind of sucks, right? So we can fix that by actually defining those things as strings. So this is something that I didn't want to do, but apparently I have to do that, right? So I wonder if I can do a little bit of a Vim magic, if you know what I mean, right? So can we do define? All right, then we can take this kind of thing, token underscore, right? Then I suppose, yeah, I can take from A to Z. All right, so something like plus. It doesn't match. Will it match now? It does match now. Right, so and then we're gonna have iota plus plus. Didn't have that. It doesn't match that anymore. Do I have to? Okay, so I have to explicitly do it like that, which is kind of weird, but I mean, fine. And what I want to replace it with? I want to replace it with just token first, and then token first one more time. Will that work? It does in fact work. Can your Emacs do that? I don't fucking think so, mate. Holy shit. Okay, so that is pretty cool, and that means we don't need token types, right? So we don't need any of these stinky token types. Token type name, right? We just don't need that anymore because we can use the type directly in here. Isn't that poggers? I think that's pretty freaking poggers. Okay, and essentially, right, what we can do, we can iterate through the types, and if something is equal to one of those types, we can essentially just instantly return that token, right? If it's not equal to one of the types, we have to say that we didn't expect that. Expected, what did we expect? Join or types, like that, but got token type instead. So that makes it way more easier, right? As you can see, so we can actually provide several types in here. That's good. I like that. I like that. Okay, so parsing the type, parsing the block. So here we expect either name or close curly, right? So if we found close curly, we just exit this entire thing. If we found a return, we have to do something else. Okay. In case of a return, I can just expect token Lexa token name. Token name. Actually, not token name, but number. Right. So number. And this is going to be an expression. So actually, maybe let's call it value. Right. And if value return false. So interestingly, I probably do have to do a similar thing in here. If not name, also instantly return false. Right. So it means we couldn't parse this entire thing. We couldn't parse this entire thing, so this is a type and blah blah blah. Alright. Cool. So where do we define return statement? So it only has an expression. So I'm going to return, not really return, but yeah. So what I need to do, I need to check. So let me close all of that stuff. This is not needed anymore. I need to check append array. How do you append array? Array push. There is such thing as array push. Cool. That's good enough for me. I'm fine with that. So array push block. I will do block. And we'll be pushing new return statement, and in here we just provide the expression, which is a value, right? So there we go. That's basically it. So we return the integer, right? So function call is going to be rather interesting. So we already have a name, so we need to parse arg list. So arg list, parse arg list, and we're going to provide the Alexa, right? And if not arg list, instantly return false, right? Instantly return false, and then just do array push block new fun call statement. We provide the name, we provide the arg list. And that is basically it, right? So we just push all of these things in here. And after the end of all of these statements, we expected the semicolon, right? So, and then we repeat. We expect either the name or closing curly. If we encounter closing curly, so we basically end this entire thing and we just return the block. Okay, so we managed to implement this entire thing. So, yeah. What I want to do, I probably want to try to just run this entire thing and go through the interpretation errors, not really compilation errors, because this isn't a compiler, right? But yeah, there we go. So it's gonna be PHP, c.php, there we go. So 225. So what do we have in here? I probably have to, yeah, I have to put this stuff in here. So what else do we have? 249. What you don't like in here? Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much. 236. What you don't like in here? Call to undefined function arg list. Yeah, that makes sense. That's fair enough. Parse arg list. So we're gonna accept the Lexa. One of the things we can do in here is actually, if not expect token, Lexa token oparent, set oparent. Right, set oparent, return false, and similarly close parent. Right, so this is what we have in here. So we need to parse an expression. Right, so we already kind of had coded different expressions in here. So what I'm thinking is that I'm gonna literally get either a number or a string. So maybe this is what we have to have in here. So parse expression. So for now, we're going to have only two kinds of expressions, right? It's numbers and strings. I think that's fair enough. Right, so we can say expect token, Lexa, right. It's either token number or token string, right? And so this is going to be an expression, and if not expression, and, return false. And here we're just gonna do value. That's it. Right, we expect only these two things. So, which makes it kind of easy, right, I think. Though, maybe it's not particularly interesting. So, actually, we do number in here. I think this function is useless, right? Because it doesn't allow us to smoothly parse this entire thing. So I'm gonna do it like this: arg list, array. So this is array, and then while true, we're gonna take the next thing, which is going to be an expression, which is expect token. We would expect one of these things: token string, token number. I'm kind of into doing whatever the fuck I'm doing right now. I know I'm into writing this in PHP. I don't enjoy PHP, but I kind of like enjoy this project very much. So, and another thing I expect in here is a token close parent, right? If not expr return false. Return false. Okay, so if expr type is equal token cparent, I'm just instantly returning arg list, right? I can actually say something like break, so, in return. Yeah, we don't have to do that, and just return arg list. Yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, array push arg list expression value. Yeah, there we go. So that would allow us to parse the arg list, and this function becomes kind of useless, I think. Right, it becomes kind of useless. So parse arg list and some other shit. Cool. So that's basically it in terms of outlining the idea that I want to implement. So we only need to go through the compilation errors or interpretation errors or whatever the fuck it is. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So what's going to be the next one? 2021. Expected syntax error, unexpected return. What don't you like about it? Oh, I see. That makes sense. So if I go to close parent, sure. What's the next one? 248. So this has to be prefixed with that. Fair enough. What's the next one? 244. Value. Okay, so what's up with that? If we return, if not expression, yeah, so that makes sense as well. Okay, so it worked out correctly, which is kind of weird, not gonna lie. Class fun call. Wait a second. New red statement. This is sus. So I never defined constructor for this thing. Will that work? That's a real question. So if I do something like foo and I have a, let's put it public a, public b, right? And then I have something like foo, new foo 69 for 20, and then I say okay, echo foo a and b. Will that work? But if I then define public function, public function construct a, b, a, boom. Okay, what a horrible language. What a horrible language. I will never program that commercially. My god. Anyway, so maybe I will, who knows. Construct, so expression, some sort of an expression, this expression. So fun call statement, we also kind of need to do fun call statement, sure. Construct a function, name args, who needs codecs, who needs copilot, who fucking needs all of that? I can type the boilerplate myself. Okay. So is there any way to check the type of whatever we got? PHP get type. So it returns a string. Okay, so let's give it a try. Echo get type func. Let me see. Yeah, sure. Object. Cool. So I suppose, well, I mean, it's not particularly, I would like to have a specific thing, but that's fine. Maybe there is something like get class. Is there something like get class? Get class, okay, so, but I'm not sure if it's like useful thing. Get class returns the name of the class. Yeah, that will be. Get class, get class. Func, that's perfect. Class func. Let me see. What I want to do, I'm gonna just do func body, right? And how do you get the length? I forgot. Length of an array. PHP array length. Size of. Okay, so maybe that's what I want. Size of. So how many of these things we have? So that's the real question. 2, which is perfect. Cool. So what I want to do now, I want to do for each, right? So I want to do for each, where I just do func. First of all, by the way, if not func, simply exit with 69. That's what we're gonna do. Just exit with 69. Right. So func body as stmt, right? So we're iterating the statements. And what I want to do, I want to just do something like get class stmt, and then just like a new line. Okay, func call and statement. So, and this is actually more generic than you think. So here is the source code that we have in here, right? And we parsed this entire thing and we determined that this is a func call statement and return statement. Now look, I can do the following thing. I can add another one where I would do foo bar, and it has two func call statements. This motherfucker understood what I mean. Chat, look at that. We parsed C using PHP. I can try to introduce some syntactical errors and it will complain, saying at the line 7 and column 11 expected token semicolon but got token name. So line 7, right, but I mean it has to be, it's numbered from 1, right, and 11. So it says that it expected a semicolon in here. We got an AST in PHP, right? We got an actual AST. AST. Okay. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? I think it's pretty freaking cool, mate. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful AST. Isn't that cool? Beautiful AST. So what we're going to be doing in here, I suppose we can compile it to something. What can we compile it to? Well, ideally I would like to compile it to assembly, right? But we can compile it to whatever. We can compile it to Python. Essentially, what we can do, we can check is stmt instance of func call, right? So func call statement. This is a func call statement, and this is what we can do in here, right? Within this thing, we can say if stmt, right, is what is it going to be? Name, right? Is it name? Func call. Class fun call, yeah, so it's a name and arguments. If it is equal to printf, right, so if it is equal to printf, we're going to do some stuff. We're going to do some stuff. So printf, we can essentially basically iterate through the args. I have an idea. What if I join together all of the args in here? So stmt arg list. All right, so I'm gonna just join them together, and then we're gonna do echo maybe sprintf, right, where I'm gonna do print, and this is s, and this is a new line, and this is what we accept in here, right? So this is basically what we have. So, and otherwise we probably should say something along the lines of we should complain that this is not a valid thing, but we need to know where exactly that function call was defined, right? So we need to have a location. So I have an idea. So this is the name, right? And name could be effectively a token, right? So new func call statement. So here I'm actually, ooh, look at that. It is okay, so that means I have to do a value actually. So this is a value, and of course it has to be like that. All right. So that means here I can say echo as printf error, unknown. Well, of course I have to do something like this. Unknown function s, right? And of course we'll probably want to exit with 69. And what we're gonna do in here. So stmt, I can't see shit in this mist. Okay. Name lock display. Look at that. Statement name lock display. And function call is a statement name value. So that's basically what we have. Is that cool? I feel like I'm programming in C. Okay, that's fine. So we're gonna ignore returns. We're gonna basically ignore any returns, which is fine. Okay, so invalid argument passed in blah blah blah. So you don't like what I provided in here. Why don't you like? So what exactly is the problem? Undefined property arg. Oh, okay. So undefined property arg list. Class fun call statement. Oh, it's just called args. It's not arg list. It's args. Okay. Okay, that is cool. Wait a second. Just wait a second. Don't say anything. All right. There we go. So we wrote the compiler from C to Python in PHP. Well, we can save that stuff. We can say, okay, hello .py, and then we can do Python 3 hello.py. There we go. We compiled C to Python using PHP. There you go. That's your April Fool's joke. I spent 3.5 hours implementing a compiler for a small subset of C in PHP to Python. It took me 300 lines of code. Just a second, my mouse wheel is broken. Yeah. So 100 lines of code per hour. An average performance in enterprise is 100 lines of code per week. How much we outperformed an average enterprise developer? So yeah. In fact, this is actually kind of dumb. This is like a very simple thing to do. Right, so it's a very small subset of this thing, and it's doable in 3 hours. It's literally doable in 3 hours. It's just like there's nothing here. I can actually swap them around, right? I can swap them around. And of course, if I try to recompile it and do it again, as you can see, it's a full bar hello world. So we don't support a lot of things in here. There's no conditions in here. There's no. It's not possible to even have this kind of stuff in here, right? So it literally won't compile. But I mean, we implemented a subset from scratch, right? So it. Yeah, I can see that. Just a second. Yeah, it complains. So it expected cparent, but it actually like detects syntactical errors. It detects the things that it doesn't support, and it reports you that like what it expects and everything. I think it's kind of cool. All right. So anyway, so I'm gonna release it. I'm gonna use Emacs. Maybe not. I'm gonna just stick to the meme. Let's do license. And I did all of that using Vim, right? Okay, MIT license text. Okay, so who's gonna be the copyright holder? It's gonna be me. Alexei Kutepov, Key Comrade. It's me. I created this shit. Thank you very much, my comrades. Okay, so what do we need in here? Okay, so and let's go ahead and do readme.md. Okay, C compiler to let's put it this way, C to Python compiler in PHP. Okay, so quick start console PHP c.php to hello py and then Python hello py. You know, it would be nice if we like literally supported arguments. I think this is something that we need to do in here, right? A very this is an April Fool's joke. Please don't take it seriously. It only supports a very small subset of C. Literally return and function call. We even made printf and intrinsic. Please don't use it in production. This is an April Fool's joke. Please don't take it seriously. It only supports a very small subset of C. Literally return and function call. We even made printf and intrinsic. Please don't use it in production. Okay, so that's funny. But the thing is, we need to support command line arguments. PHP command line args. So, okay, so how do we do that? Parse seriously? What the fuck is this shit? Please don't tell me it doesn't support that properly. Please don't tell me. So there is argc. When calling PHP script from command argc, okay, so we do have argc. So let me try to do that. Can we do var dump argv exit 0 PHP c PHP. Okay, so we've got something. If I provide the hello.c, right, so we do have that. Cool. What about argc? Bruv, it's 2. What we can do in here now, right? If argc is less than 2, we're gonna report an error. Echo error. No input is provided. Right. New line. Exit 69. Otherwise, argv 1. Cool. Easy peasy, a lemon as squeezy. No input is provided. Boom. Epic. Let me see. That's cool. So let's do committee. All right. So do we have status init this entire shit? I'm gonna add license readme c.php hello.c, and I'm gonna commit this entire stuff already as set ago. I could have spent like extra time maybe generating assembly, right? But I'm already doing that for too long, right? And it's gonna be that much different from just generating Python. It's just like I'll have to generate more text, but ultimately this is gonna be the same. Ultimately this is gonna be the same. So let's create a repo, right? So I'm gonna actually upload that so you can play it on your machine and maybe extend it if you want to. Right. So c.php. C to Python compiler in PHP. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Where is my soy? Remote at origin, a boom, push origin, master. Okay, chat, look at that. It is live. It is live. Give it a star. Like, subscribe. There we go. I've copy pasted it in the chat, and of course, for people who are watching it on YouTube, it's here. Yes. Chat, we did it. We fucking did it. So, by the way, we got a sub. Star Over, thank you so much for 24 months of tier 1 subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. To fix Twitter algorithm. Oh yeah, the Twitter algorithm got leaked recently, right? So, I don't know, maybe I should look into that, but I don't know. Can you write something in Delphi? Man, I haven't programmed in Delphi for like 10 years already. Does it even work on Linux? On Linux you're supposed to use like free Pascal or something, Lazarus, or whatever it is. Use it in my next toolchain by generating main.c that prints source code, that compile it with PHP, running the generated Python to get the source code and go on from here. Good luck. So if I can find you should look at the commits. Commits? You mean pull requests? Did they even merge anything? Okay, we can take a look at that, sure. Again, why not? Twitter. The algorithm in Scala. People already like started. Okay. Let's take a look. Fix has GTA 2K files. Make it kawaii. I'm pretty sure we have to look at the closed ones. I hope there's nothing offensive in here. Yeah, it could be actually... You know what? I'm probably not gonna look into that. Yeah, because I know that you can have something like not TOS friendly in there. Right. So, okay, I'm gonna take a look at what FreeFoo suggests. Right, so, just a second. Right, but I'm not gonna open everything because I know there is a way to just post some like literally porn on GitHub and nobody's gonna give a shit. Alright, so... this is my cat. Okay, thank you. Nice cat. This is a nice cat, actually. Yeah, I like this cat. Thank you. Anyway, I guess that's it for today. I hope you liked this small April Fool's joke. Right, so it just was literally one stream project. Have a good one, and I see you on the next Azuzin as usual. So yeah, I love you all. Mwah.